The next question is about DACA involving parole in place. So this is kind of like my situation as well. I already have DACA, and I kept getting that question as far as like, obviously I have a work permit and like my social and everything. And if we were to apply for this process, are we going to have to reapply for like a permit, or is that our way of kind of jumping ahead in line, if that makes sense?
Yeah. When it comes to DACA recipients, it's going to go through an H-2B visa, right? And so what the process is for DACA recipients is as long as they have a degree from a U.S. accredited school and they're employed in that field, then their employer can go ahead and sponsor them. So there's not much information just yet. So I can't tell you you're going to get, for example, a new work permit. All we know regarding the instructions is that those who do qualify, including DACA recipients, are going to have a parole. So I'm assuming it's going to be, you get to keep your work permit and have that parole at the same time. And then after a few years, you get to apply for adjustment of status or so. Of course, if you have a qualifying relative.
Waiting is just consular process, going back to your country, applying there. So that's the benefit of parole in place. So if you don't have a qualifying relative, you have legal status because you have advanced parole makes it easier to travel, but you still have to have that qualifying relative. So I can't see, I mean, again, it's a newer program, but I can't see any way that it disadvantages in any way a DACA recipient. It just makes it so that if you do have qualifying relative in the future because of a marriage or something like that, that you can avoid consular process.
One is kind of iffy. I don't know if you guys would be able to answer this, but once you're approved for this parole in place, is it guaranteed that you could get your status adjusted as long as you stay in a good standing, you know, not a criminal record and stuff like that? Is that something that's actually guaranteed, or is it case by case once you're approved for the parole in place as far as getting your status adjusted?
It's always going to be a case by case basis. And so we just have to see, right? So after parole, I believe the instructions did mention it's 3 years you have to be on parole. As long as you qualify, have that qualifying relative, no criminal record, you're in good standing. I don't see why you won't be eligible. But again, it's up to USCIS's discretion. So, but it's always best to consult with an attorney.
And one of the challenges in immigration law is that law could change. You know, generally the policy has been, we don't want to take benefits away from people who've already gotten them. So hopefully that continues to be the policy, but those programs might not be available in the future. So if they're available, there's a lot of urgency to try to take advantage while the program is open.
Right, because we always see judges wanting to try to do some creative with it. So as far as the 10-year, I did get asked, and some people were kind of questioning, like, would they need to send evidence for just those 10 years? Or, for example, if you've been here for 20 plus years, are you sending all of that or just the 10 years?
We want to make sure we meet the requirements. So if they're only asking 10 years, just send in those 10 years. I've been here since, 2024. So since 2014 up until this date, you show that continuous presence with the documents that we just talked a little bit ago with, right? I've been here, including the dates, the time, and the location.
Okay, perfect. That to not overwhelm probably the case officer that receives your case as well.
I mean, we probably would say like when they entered. Right? But we just don't have to give the level of detail for the first. Like we want to focus most of our energy, but we want to kind of give like an overview and then really focus on that 10-year continuous presence.
Of course.
Got it. Okay, perfect. If you have any deportations or like removal on your record as far as like parole in place, that would immediately disqualify you, right? Whether it was like past 10 years ago, because it would be on your record.
Yeah, when there's been a past deportation, it creates big problems. Yeah. So that would definitely be a situation where someone needs to get, you know, a legal opinion on it. I would say generally though, yeah, you're disqualified if you've got that bar and been back in the United States during that time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to like the work permit and work visas, because that, since it's so vague, I know there's not a lot of information on it. Being the question of what is the difference as far as having DACA in a work permit and having a visa? Like, what are the advantages of that? And should someone bother to go that route with their employer? Because I also know if you were to get a work visa through your employer and you were to lose that job,
Right.
you would lose that visa. And like, does that put someone at risk of being removed versus if you keep DACA, even though it's every 2 years, and it can be kind of like, is it worth going that route?
That's what I personally would rather have the DACA. I mean, it's connected to you. It's not connected to an employer. If you change jobs, your new employer can assume the work visa. So like,
Okay.
it's not like you're totally out of luck if you can't ever change jobs, but it makes it harder because not every employer is set up to do those things. So I really like DACA, but there might be pros and cons to both.
As far as the topic of advanced parole, that's something that I kind of dove in deep not too long ago. And my question for you guys is, I know humanitarian is the main form of application that you tend to receive. Do you guys see if educational or employment advanced paroles ever get approved, or is that something that you guys have experience with? And like, what do you see out of those?
We're doing there are some companies that are kind of doing educational programs, specifically kind of targeting DACA recipients. Parole in place, and it seems like they do a really good job of supporting applicants and helping them through the process. So educational is definitely one that you can use, definitely. Humanitarian, you asked about one other. You said employment. That's one we haven't seen as much, and so I don't know the answer to that. But I know that educational and humanitarian are both really strong applications. They can be.
And is that a service that you guys assist with?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So like if they were going to their home country to do, a 6-week program, doing anthropological research with their families and other situations. Yeah, like that's a very strong application.
Okay. I did get the question of, are you able to apply for advanced parole if you own a business and you, I don't know, maybe you're going to your home country to like look for manufacturers and such things like that, that would help advance your business. Is that something that you would get approved for, or if you guys see that?
It seems like, honestly, we haven't done something to it too much, but it seems like it would be strong. I think it's worth talking to an attorney. We offer free consultations to look at questions like these. And so we can do a little bit of research and find out answers to this for like an individual situation. I think it's definitely worth exploring.
If that is a thing, I don't think a lot of people for sure know about it, but I think it would be an excellent opportunity for a lot of like even Latino business owners that could use that to their advantage, whether it's to grow their business or even obtain, adjust their status. Essentially, I'm attempting to do this myself, which I know is not recommended, but
I think it's awesome. And a lot of these things, they really they don't require super specialized knowledge. And I think that if somebody can't afford an attorney, it's a lot of times way better to just make the application. The red flags are, have you been deported? Do you have a bar? Do you have criminal history? Has there been a divorce or something where the family relationship that your petition is based on has changed a lot? Those are some things that are like red flags where it's like, you probably want to get an attorney. But there are some that are just, I totally qualify and I've got great supporting documents and there's not going to be any dispute on any of this. And I don't think that someone should choose not to apply just because they can't afford an attorney.
Right. So essentially, if you have a difficult case or even a little bit tricky, just always, best case scenario, go through an attorney.
And when we talk to new clients, like sometimes they ask, like, do I need an attorney for this? And I really try to, give them a really honest opinion on like, is this doable by yourself or do you need an attorney? Obviously, I'm not totally unbiased because like this is what we do. I said but I really try to do my best to say we've got plenty of work. We don't need to try to convince somebody who's got an easy case that they need a lawyer. We want to make sure that people are getting the best advice possible.
Okay, perfect. No, I really appreciate that.